Hey everybody, and welcome back to this video where I'll be continuing my development of my fitness app that I've been developing for a client who has officially taken on the project now, so that's great. So you will see it published to the app stores, but it will be 100% in French. It's only for the French market, so just word of warning, but you can definitely use it. It's going to be fun. So I've done some updates since we last spoke, since I last did a video, and today what I want to do is focus not on what I've done in Noodle, but what I'll be doing to try to get this app ready to publish to the app stores by using Capacitor. And I'm going to be using a video that was made by the one of the original Noodle team, Johan Olsen, who made the video that I'll put a link to in the description of this video, which is the original video on how to install Capacitor. It's really good. I just want to do another video to show how that works from start to finish, from the point of getting your app into Capacitor and Android Studio and getting it all the way to the store. So just get that full scope, and also look at up-to-date constraints that are put on apps or any kind of updates that need to be done, since the original tutorial is older, I think, from 2 years ago. So I think probably some stuff has changed since then, and it's worth doing an update. So yeah, the app at the moment, you have a sort of login screen. You can generate to-do lists. You have welcome pages and all this stuff. I don't know why that image isn't working, but it doesn't matter. And nothing is loading from the project. So let's just go back. Sometimes stuff doesn't load up right. Oh, okay, because I accidentally deleted the project. Luckily, this is what I actually mentioned this in the Discord the other day. I was saying you absolutely should back up your projects, because sometimes you make mistakes, like accidentally deleting the project folder. I thought I was deleting the app project folder, like the Capacitor app folder, but it seems like I actually deleted the full project. So it's a great opportunity to see one of the many mistakes you can make with Noodle. Like if I had done that, maybe because I'm on Mac, I would be able to use the time machine thing to get it back. But what I did was used the version control panel, which is the best way to do that. So that's good. We're going to put that back into documents, and yeah. So I've just downloaded it from GitHub again, and I can go into documents and get the folder that I just downloaded. I just downloaded the project, unzipped it, and then I can get back in and say that I'm using, the Azure backend is already in there, so that's perfect. And that should now work as I intended it to. Yeah. Nice. So you can see, like, the fact that the images were gone and everything, it was that the app had kind of broken because I deleted the folder. Oops. So it's good. It has little onboarding steps and then sign up step. So we're going to try this out on Android Studio and see if it works. Last time I had a problem where it wasn't connecting out to the backend. So we'll see if that's the same problem this time. But let's follow through the steps, and I'll show you how to get it into Android Studio, and then we'll try it out and see if it's really working or not. So we have our project ready to go. We've connected it up to a backend. It's working in the preview. Well, that's the moment to start messing with VS Code. So we're going to make a new folder. We're going to call, no, not here. We're going to call it I feel good app, Capacitor app. So don't accidentally delete it again. Capacitor. I don't know why I keep spelling that wrong. Create. And we're going to open that folder. Okay, so we have an empty folder. I recommend using VS Code just because it's tidy. It keeps everything nice and tidy, and you can see the folder contents really easily, and quickly jump between files and make changes and whatever. Like I'm not a coder at all, but it really helps to have that in VS Code and have the terminal integrated. There's nothing different about the integrated terminal than there is about your local Mac OS terminal or Windows PowerShell. It's just that it's all in one place is really nice. It's just a nice little working environment. So what we are doing is we are going to first install Capacitor into this project. So we're going to use npm. If you at this point run into that problem of what is npm or Capacitor, for goodness sake. One time I'm going to spell it right. If you run into that problem where you type this command, you can have two main issues that I've had before. Either it says what's npm, and that means you haven't got Node installed. So just look up how to install node.js on your computer. It's totally safe. It's it's like the backbone of a lot of the things on the internet. And the other problem is it might say permissions problem. It means you're in a folder somewhere. You've created this app folder somewhere on your computer where you don't have permission to write files, or that Node isn't acting as the root user. So you would want to maybe move the project to somewhere where you do have permission, like in your downloads folder, or like your documents folder, maybe, rather than if you've installed it in some root folder somewhere on your C drive, and just move it somewhere where you have the permission to create files, and that should work. Anyway, so we'll install it. Should have been installing it while I was talking, but whatever. So we've installed Capacitor. You can see that's installed a package JSON file and node module. We've got Capacitor in there, and TypeScript, I guess, as well. And now we're going to install the command line interface that will allow us to type in Capacitor commands, like installing Android and setting things up. So install at Capacitor, yeah, CLI save two dashes save dash dev. And then afterwards we are going to run our first capacitor command, which is npx, or executing capacitor init cap init, npx cap init. That'll ask you what your app should be called, so it'll just do some easy configuration, some one-step configuration. So it's going to be called I feel good. It's going to be, so the package ID just has to be something the same unique identifier that you're going to use across your project. So it just has to be something unique within your Apple developer space or your Android developer space. So we'll just call it com dot, the standard is like com dot something, like a backwards domain name. I feel good dot app. The web directory can stay www. We're going to need that. Oh, it must be Java. Oh, okay, fine. Sorry. Oops. Don't put dashes in. com.ifeelgood, all one word, .app. Yep. Okay, so it created the capacitor config, and you can see we need a www folder for that to work. So we're going to put a www folder, just create a new folder in the same, under the same parent folder. And that is where we're going to deploy our Noodle project. That's what's going to contain the files that Capacitor will boot up on the phone. So Capacitor will open on the phone as Capacitor, masquerading as your app, and it will open up whatever the index.html file is in the www folder. And what's really cool about Noodle is, because when we deploy Noodle, it deploys all the project files. So it deploys your the index.html tells it where to go to get what it needs, but it's going to be running the Noodle runtime to translate your app into translate the JSON that was produced from the Noodle editor into real React code. So what's really cool about that is that when you've downloaded the Capacitor app as a user on your phone, you've already downloaded all the files that Noodle needs to run. So the front end is 100% locally on the phone, theoretically. Like, it's behind Capacitor, so you need some Capacitor connections to be able to get access to camera and stuff like that. But everything is on the phone. So compared to tools like Bubble or whatever other web tools where you're kind of wrapping just the URL for the app, and then Capacitor has to go and fetch the URL and download, for example, all the Bubble files that will help translate, the Bubble JSON, the Bubble runtime that translates that JSON into whatever code they're using, HTML, JavaScript. That takes time. So that's why when you load up a Capacitor app with Bubble or BDK or whatever it is, it's not the full Bubble project in the app. The app has to go and get it from the internet, download it, and then show it to the user. So that takes time. Whereas a Noodle app, as you'll see in a minute, loads up very quickly because it's all local in there. The only thing that's external to the app is your backend, which, even if you wanted to develop a Noodle app that was 100% using like local storage, or maybe like an inbuilt, I don't know if it's possible, but like an inbuilt SQLite database, then in theory you could actually have something that's 100% locally running on the phone and that's stored entirely within the app. But for stuff like login, you know, it's better to have an external centralized backend hosted somewhere, so you can have multiple users all logging in. And for example, in my app, I need users to be able to log in and be authenticated somewhere centrally, so that I can, and externally to their phones, so that my client can go and personalize their to-do list. So like they've had a phone call and she knows that this person has gluten intolerance, and so they're going to make tasks that take that into account and don't mention like eating bread, for example. So to do that, you need to have that external database, so that the user's phone is going to call this external database, the centralized database, to say what are the tasks to do today, and that the client can update them and keep them in sync with the person's experience on the phone. But if it was just, you know, here are the 5 tasks that you should do every day, and that's it, and they're never going to change, then in theory you could have it all running locally on the phone, and the user could just check the tasks that they want, and it could store that in local storage, which could then be retrieved when you open the app the next time. And as long as you don't delete the app, then the data is always going to be on the phone, and you without an internet connection, you would be able to use the Noodl app on the phone, which I think is a game changer. I think is really awesome. Anyway, I digress. So we're going to deploy. We're going to choose absolutely our cloud service, because we are not using this 100% locally. We're going to pick the Capacitor app and the www folder, open, deployed, and now, ta-da! All the project files, including the cat logo, which is from my template. Sorry, it's not just there for fun, but I'm thinking it's kind of like my calling card. I'm going to leave it there as my calling card from now on. So let's, we don't need to check anything. It's all good. Just close it up. You don't need to do anything. Next step, we are going to install Android, and we're going to test this app out on Android because it's ready to run. In the www folder is an index.html, so Capacitor has everything it needs basically to access that. It knows where it's supposed to look for that. So yeah, we're good to go. Let's install Android. So npm install at capacitor/Android, and then we are going to do npx capacitor cap add Android. It's going to add Android to our project. So we'll have the Android folder and files that we would need to run this. So let's take it into Android and see what happens. So we're going to open, because we already have a project, go to our project folder, Android, and we can open this, which will point to the www folder and get Android opening that up. Of course we want to trust this. It's 100% trustworthy. Okie dokie. So it's building. It won't take too long to build, but it depends. The thing to mention about doing these tests, Android Studio is necessary to test out and deploy Android apps, and Xcode is for Apple apps. And one thing I would mention is that they're already quite hefty tools, like close to 1 gigabyte in size. But when you download the emulator, that's when you're going to really be into like 3-4 gigabytes per emulator. So if you want to test on multiple devices, just prepare yourself that that's going to cost a lot of space. So if you maybe need to think about external storage or something like that, I've found myself, I'm saying that because I found myself stuck before and like, oh, I have no space left. Oh, because I'm using 30 gigabytes in just an Xcode for like all the emulators that I'm using. So yeah, just mentioning that like that. I want to double check something. I had asked ChatGPT, but I hadn't had time to test this out. ChatGPT said if I can check the Android manifest, I need to double check that internet access is allowed. So we're looking for uses permission, Android provider data, uses permission. Yeah, it does. So it has this, what it told me to check was uses permission is with internet, and it appears after application. Okay, don't care. Let me just double check this, make sure. Does this look ready to access the internet? Just in case. But I'm gonna have to do more research into why this doesn't work. It's mostly set up correctly. You've included the essential internet permission.
check clear text traffic if your backend is HTTP. No, it's not HTTP. I'm using Azure, so I don't need that. No. So everything is set up fine. In theory, it should be able to connect to the internet, but I'm positive it won't because I've tried it twice already. So I will get to the end of this and we'll see what the solution is in another video. What I want to do today is just get to the end and show you that we have just set up our Capacitor project and we are now running it in an emulator on Android Studio. And we could argue this is pretty quick. If I hadn't been rambling this whole time, I would feel like probably we could have done this in about 5 minutes. Just from following the guide, I think it would have been pretty easy. So there we go, it's installed. And yay, there's my app. So we can tap, tap, tap away. So drag and scroll, drag and scroll. Imagine it's using your finger. Permission denied for action icon field. Oh, okay. I think it's, yeah. Well, I mean, it did sort of have a, you saw that. It kind of had a connection there, didn't it? Should I try to log myself in, maybe? I think my password's just password. Invalid username. I mean, that's not a bad sign. Was it password 0? Oh, it works. Jesus Christ. Okay, I don't know how I did that. Last time, every time I've tried it before, it never worked. So now it's working. That's great. Cool, there you go. It's the backend's working, so great. I don't have to debug anything. It all works. Maybe just double check that you have this if your internet's not working like mine was. Double check this line has been added. And if not, then add it. You can ask ChatGPT for the line as well. It's pretty standard stuff. Android.permission.internet. Cool, so it's working. So essentially we'd be ready at this point to start messing around with like all the assets. The res folder has like all the different icons that we need to change out, the splash screen that we need to change out. You know, this is not a very pretty splash screen. So this is where we get into the land of having to generate 15 different bloody images for every possible bloody phone size in the world, which is a real pain. But there are apps to help do it. So I'm going to try to find one of the free apps that I used to use that'll help publish all the different sizes that we need. But yeah, we need to change the splash screen. We need to change the app icon and all sorts of cool stuff like that. But we'll do that in the next video where we look at Android, and then we're going to have to look at Xcode separately as well because it's similar but not the same. And then we'll look at how to publish them to the stores. But very good first step. The app looks good. It works. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Nice. Hope you enjoyed that video and you're getting excited about publishing your own app to the store using Noodl, what I consider to be the best tool to publish apps out there because I've never had such a nice, easy, smooth experience with it before. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.